Good morning. Hope you're having a great weekend. It is early Sunday morning, July 23rd, 12:35 a.m. Central Daylight Time, local time here in Oklahoma City. I am at home if you can't tell. So what is going on? Let's we'll talk about me first. About what I'm doing, the dedicated run that I'm about to start. In my last video I said that I wasn't going to give very much information about the dedicated run. I changed my mind. I will give out more detailed information about it. I'll give out details on the dedicated run. Then we'll talk about the UPS strike, the yellow strike, or the yellow bankruptcy. Um, and, the ILWU union strike on the west coast of Canada. There's a lot of union stuff going on right now that could affect rates. So I'll give my opinion on what I think is going to happen. So let's just start out with what's going on with me. So I've been home for almost 4 months. I requested a trailer from Landstar. I went and picked one up from Arkansas. Couldn't find a load, so I came back to the house to find a load instead of sitting at the truck stop, spending money idling the truck. And I did find a load once I got home. So let's talk about the Hobby Lobby load real quick, and then we'll talk about the one that I'm going to be running. So a few months ago, or a few videos ago, I talked about how what I was planning on doing to survive this bad freight market is that I was going to run the Hobby Lobby dedicated run. It doesn't pay very well. It's a horrible run. There's so many negatives about it. The Landstar agent is an asshole. The Hobby Lobby broker or load planner or whatever his title is, he's an asshole. The terminals that I have to go back and forth to suck. The equipment's like 50 years old. It's been poorly maintained. Like you have airlines that'll just crumble in your hands on these old chassis. So it's just an absolutely horrible account, and it pays next to nothing. It pays $1.75 a mile. But that's what I was going to do because my business is set up to survive bad times like what we're in right now. My business was structured for this moment. A lot of people unfortunately structured their business for the sky high, like historically high rates. And when the rates started going down, they started losing money because their business was set up to live on those really high rates. I'm set up to thrive in this environment that we're in right now. That's the way my business is structured because I understand freight cycles and economic cycles, and I've been trying to warn people for years about these cycles, and I hope that some of you listened. So the Hobby Lobby run is not happening. I think I talked about that in previous videos. The number one driver on the Hobby Lobby account, Ron, the one that told me about it, the Landstar agent ran him out of business with inconsistent loads, and he was his number one driver. So there are several reasons that I decided not to do the Hobby Lobby run. And then after I made that decision, they've been cutting the loads back. I've received like 2 or 3 emails over the last few weeks where Hobby Lobby has been cutting loads. The agent had 10 drivers running loads for him. They were running exclusively for this Landstar agent on that Hobby Lobby account. 10 drivers. And Hobby Lobby cut their loads back, so he went down to 5 drivers. He had to let 5 go. Then on Friday, this past Friday, he sent out another email saying he had to let some more of his drivers go. So he cut down from 5 to what I don't know. He didn't say specifically how many drivers he kept, but he had to let go of. It was plural, more than one. So I'm guessing 2. So now he has 3 or less drivers on the account, and he said that that was how many he had to let go because of how many loads he was getting right now. They've been cutting back. And he got an email from Hobby Lobby on Friday where they told him that they were going to cut his rate by $50 per load. So it went from paying $1.91 per mile back when I ran the load a couple years ago to $1.75 a mile. Now it's paying $1.65 a mile. And Hobby Lobby told him on top of the rate reduction, they're also going to decrease his number of loads going forward. So he's already down from 10 drivers to 3 or less. I don't know how many exactly he has right now. He has 3 or less drivers. But they've told him they're going to cut his loads even further. So we're not messing with the Hobby Lobby account. It's a bunch of drama. It's a shitty load. I don't like the people involved with the load. So what load did I end up getting? I'm now on a Walmart dedicated run. The agent that I've been dealing with the Walmart run seems like a really cool guy. And everything about the Walmart run seems, pretty solid. It's not an amazing run, which is why I'm willing to talk about it. I did a big spreadsheet breakdown where I talked about the Hobby Lobby run and how most owner operators would go out of business running the Hobby Lobby run, like Ron did. There's a lot of owner operators out here that just don't understand the business side. They're just drivers. They don't understand. They're business owners, but they don't understand how to run a business. They don't understand the finances. They don't understand math, and they just get out there and run, and they will eventually go out of business, like what happened to Ron. So the Hobby Lobby run, I've already shown it on paper, well, on a spreadsheet, that there are very few owner operators that can survive or thrive on that Hobby Lobby account because it's like a break-even load. So you have to have really low expenses like I do to be able to not only pay all of your business expenses, but pay all your personal expenses and be able to set like $500 to $1,000 a week aside for unexpected expenses. If you cannot set aside $500 a week or more for unexpected expenses, then you need to rethink your business plan. You are running a break-even operation if you're not setting like 500 plus a week aside for unexpected expenses. So the Hobby Lobby account was just a horrible account. Very few people could actually stay in business running that account, but people run it, even break even, because they just like having a dedicated run. So the Walmart account pays almost exactly the same as the Hobby Lobby account. So the only people that can run the Walmart account and stay in business are people with low expenses. And that's the reason I'm willing to talk about it is, and let me break out my spreadsheet here and I'll show you the numbers on the account. So I'm not going to bother pausing it. We're going to do this. If I come up to something where I can't figure it out and I need time, I will pause it. So you don't have to just sit there while I'm sitting there, pondering how to do something. There we go, spreadsheet. So let's put in some numbers. Let's do line haul. How do I want to do this? Let's just do line haul and then fuel surcharge. So the line haul is $4,000 per week and the fuel surcharge is $500 per week. It's a weekly contract, Monday through Friday, and it pays full. We'll do full, and then we'll do my percentage. So my percentage is C3 times 0.75. I get 75% of the line haul, and we're just going to go ahead and do a math problem on this. It's times 1, which you don't really need to do a math problem. We're going to do a math problem, though. Let's do C4 times 1, because I get 100%. And then we're going to do total. That equals a sum of C3, C4, And then we'll just, there we go. So what I make guaranteed per week is $3,500 gross to the truck. I get 75% of the line haul. I'm hauling Walmart trailers. I'm going in bobtail. And the way the contract is set up is that I get 75% of the line haul and 100% of the fuel surcharge. You can look at it two ways. You can look at it as $700 per day or $3,500 per week. The full rate is $900 per day or $4,500 per week. That's what the total amount that Walmart's paying for the load is, $4,500 per week. Landstar and the agent are splitting $1,000. I don't know what their percentages are on that. And then I'm getting the remainder of it, $3,500. So that's my guaranteed pay. So now let's talk about what it actually pays rate per mile. So let's do let's do RPM and then fuel surcharge. And we'll do it the same way we did the other one. Let's put something in here. Let's do full and then my percentage. So the full rate per mile is 2.5 and the fuel surcharge is 35 cents per mile. So my percentage is still 75%. So that's C8 times 0.75. And we'll do a math problem on this, even though we don't need to because it's times 1. C9 times 1. And then we'll sum these up. We'll do total. So that is C8 and C9. And I don't know how they're going to round these up or down, but what it comes out to is Walmart is paying $2.85 per mile on the full rate. What I'm getting per mile on the percentage cuts are $2.22 per mile, or $2.23, depending on how they round it, which is the equivalent of, let me put it up here. Let's word it like this. Just a second, I gotta spit. All right, sorry about that. So we're gonna do the equivalent if I were getting 70%, because the equal sign is jacked it up. So 70%. Normally, what I get is about 70% of the load. So let's do what this would be on the equivalent of 70%. So that would equal sum of D10 divided by 0.7. So the load is paying $2.85 a mile, but at my normal 70% cut, I'm getting 75% of the load plus fuel surcharge. So I'm getting like 80% of this load. If this were paying normally, what this is the equivalent of is a load that pays almost $3.18 per mile. It's only paying $2.85 a mile, but I'm getting a much larger cut than I normally do. And if you factored it based on my normal 70% cut, this $2.85 a mile is the equivalent of a load that pays about $3.18 a mile. So why is this load so bad if it's paying so well? Because right now the average loads are paying like $2 a mile. If you set up load alerts, you sit around and wait for the good loads to be posted, you can get loads paying $2.50 a mile. Those are the solid loads that don't sit on the load board, but you can get them. But the average loads that are just sitting on the load board are paying like $2 a mile on the full rate, which at 70%, that's $1.40 a mile. So, loads that are paying $2.50 a mile are not easy to get. You usually have to sit around and, wait on them, have load alerts set up and stuff like that. So a load that's paying the equivalent of 318 a mile is paying well above market average right now. This load is paying really well. So why does this load suck? Well, it's because this is a low mileage run. And the lower the mileage is, the higher the rate per mile has to be for it to still be a good run. You know, a 1,000-mile run that's paying 318 a mile, that's a really good run. That's 3,000, $180 that load's paying to go 1,000 miles. That's a pretty damn good run. But would a load that's going 10 miles paying $3.18 a mile, would that still be a good run? Would you, haul a load 10 miles for $32? No, that sucks. That's terrible. And that's what the deal is with this Walmart account, is that the agent told me that almost every driver runs the minimum. They run at this contract rate of the daily minimums because they run so few miles. He said that you basically have to run a minimum of 1,600 miles per week for it to be better to run at the mileage rate. He said if you don't do more than 1,600 miles per week, then I'm just going to pay you the contract minimums. But if you do go over 1,600 miles per week, then I'll pay you by the mile. And he said almost every driver on this contract does not do over 1,600 miles per week. They're almost all running the contract minimums. So that puts you in a position where you're making $3,500 gross to the truck per week. And most people cannot stay in business doing that for a long period of time. You have to have really low expenses like I do in order to stay in business running a load like this for $3,500 gross to the truck per week. Because if you just sit here and think about your expenses, if my APU is working, I would not burn quite as much fuel, but it's roughly 1,200 miles per tank of fuel in my truck, approximately. It varies based on my miles per gallon and all kinds of other factors, but it's roughly 1,200 miles. So I'm going to use a full tank of fuel, which is 200 gallons, plus, somewhere around a third of a tank just to run 1,600 miles. So that right there puts me into the position where it's like somewhere in the ballpark of 270 gallons. And let's do some math here. 270 times, I should do it on the spreadsheet since I've got it up there, but I don't like to mix information. So 270 times, what's a good price for fuel right now? After discount, my price is somewhere in the ballpark of, I would say, $3.30 a gallon. I can get it cheaper than that, but we'll go with $3.30 a gallon. So that's $891 in fuel. And that's just for my driving. I'm also going to be setting and idling the truck, which uses about a gallon per hour. So I'm probably going to have a minimum of 14 hours a day of idle time. So 14 times 5, that's 70. 70 more gallons. So add that to 270 and then multiply that times 3.3. That's $1,122 in fuel that I'm going to be accruing most likely per week. If I had my APU working, then I wouldn't be using that much fuel. All my idle time would be, I'd just be running the APU. But, $1,100 in fuel. So that $3,500 just turned into $23.50, $2,350 approximately. And then take out insurance and all the rest of this stuff. My insurance and all my bills are really low. So it's somewhere in the ballpark of like $100 per week would cover all of my fixed costs. So $2,250. I need to cough just a sec. $2,250 would be my bring home after all expenses. But if you don't have really low expenses like I do, then you have to go ahead and deduct a truck payment, which could be anywhere in the ballpark of $400 to $1,200 a week just for a truck payment. It can go even higher than that, but we're not going to talk about super expensive trucks. But let's say on average somewhere around $800 a week for a truck payment. So 2250 minus 800, that puts us at what, 1450? $1,450. And then what if you have higher insurance than me? I have really low insurance. Most owner operators pay much higher insurance rates than I do. Easily, a couple $100 more per week than what I pay. So let's say $200 more per week. So now we're down to $1,250. $1,250 per week. And we're already in the range where people are going to have trouble covering their personal expenses. Their house, their car, their personal house and car insurance, and, medical benefits and whatever else they have that they need to pay for. We're already in the range of like low-end company driver pay. And there's still a lot of expenses that we could easily take out because I have super low expenses for an owner operator. So anyway, that is the Walmart run, and we're just a second here. There we go. That's the Walmart run. Monday morning, tomorrow morning, I am going to go in for orientation at 8 a.m. And the agent, the Landstar broker, basically told me that I'm going to be a Walmart driver. I'm signing up to be a Walmart driver for a week at a time. Walmart dispatches me just like they do their own drivers. And I'm going through Walmart orientation Monday morning. And they're going to teach me, what I need to know about doing the job. And then I'm going to, run the load. He said that on Friday, he had a meeting with Walmart and they told him that he's got loads through the rest of the year. So this is something that I can do the rest of the year at minimum. And that's probably what I'm going to do is I'm not going to be taking long periods of time off for the rest of the year. I'll probably just be taking weekends off for the rest of the year because this is a Monday through Friday run with weekends off. So that's what I'll be doing is just taking weekends off for the rest of the year. With as low as my expenses are, I should be able to pocket about $2,200, which means I'll be able to pay per week, which means I'll be able to pay all my bills, my personal business expenses, and start building my reserves, my business cash reserves back up. Sitting at home for a year has really gone into my cash reserves. It's gotten them down to a level I'm not comfortable with. So, yeah, that's what's going on with me. I'm trying to flip my sleep schedule because I'm on a nighttime schedule right now. I tried to sleep all day today. I tried to stay up. I wasn't able to do that. I stayed up as long as I could, but I slept as long as I could. I ended up waking up at about 10 p.m. this last night, Saturday night. And my plan is to stay awake all day today. I'm going to drive down to Thackerville, Oklahoma, which is right on the border, or Thacker. I can't remember the name of the town. It's right on the border of Texas. And there's a big gas station truck stop there on the border. And I'm going to hang out there until Monday morning. And then Monday morning at about 7 a.m., I'll drive down to Walmart and go through orientation. And I don't know what's going to take place. He said the way it's set up is that we're doing direct to store deliveries. It's all out and back runs. I'm basically going to be working out of that one distribution center in Sanger, Texas. And I'm going to be, taking a preloaded trailer and delivering it to a store, and then coming back, picking up another preloaded trailer, delivering it to another store, come back, just back and forth like that all week long. I'm working out of that one distribution center, so I shouldn't make it too far away from Sanger, Texas, because I'm just doing out and back runs. So I probably am not going further than 300 miles away from Sanger. But we'll see. That's the reason the mileage is so low, is that it's set up to work out of a single distribution center. So we'll see how it goes. I'm fully expecting to be getting the weekly minimums, so it's going to be a lot of downtime, a lot of idle time, waiting to get unloaded and stuff like that. I really, really wish my APU was working, but for anybody who hasn't been following the APU situation, part of my APU is still functional. The part of my APU that charges the batteries still works. The APU runs great, and the alternator still charges the batteries. The part that doesn't work is the generator side that runs the HVAC system, which is the air conditioning system. So once the temperatures get cold, then great. I can run my diesel bunk heater, my S-Bar, Webasto, I don't know what brand I have. I can run that thing and it is amazing. Like, I've been in negative 30 temperatures, and I'm not talking about wind chill. I'm talking about air temperature of negative 30. And that thing can get it up to like 100 degrees inside the truck. That thing is amazing. So once the temperatures get cold, I can just use that bunk heater to keep the truck warm, and then the APU can turn on as necessary to charge the batteries. And that's going to save me a lot of money in fuel. And my plan is to just go ahead and ride out the rest of the summer with idling the truck. And then before we hit spring of next year, buy a new APU. I'm probably going to get a green APU installed. And if I run, this account for the rest of the year, I'll have plenty of money to to pay cash to get an APU installed. I don't really want to deal with financing and the interest rates and all that stuff. I'd rather just pay, like $13,000. Well, it's $13,000 base price. The taxes and everything, it's probably going to be closer to $14,000 or $15,000. But I'd rather pay that than pay it off on a loan where I end up paying like $20,000 for the damn unit. So that's the plan. That's the current plan that I'm going through right now. Is hopefully this Walmart run will work out for the rest of the year. Just the rest of the year. That's a lot of time left in the rest of this year. That's August, September, October, November, December. That's 5 months. And if I'm able to put $1,000 a week into the business account, which I should be able to cover all of my expenses with $1,200 per week. And then I should be able to put $1,000 a week into the business account. That's 5 months. I don't know exactly how many weeks that is. Let's do it on a 4-week average. So that's 20 weeks approximately at $1,000 a week. That should be $20,000 that I can put into the business account, not including, all the expenses and, my, paying all my personal stuff and things like that. I think that's a fairly conservative estimate. I could probably put even more than that into the business account, but conservatively, I should be able to put $1,000 a week into the business account, because, man, that would leave me with $1,200 a week. 12 times 4 is 48. So $4,800 a month for all of my personal expenses. My personal expenses are not that high. $4,800 a month, no way are my personal expenses even close to that high, especially I'm about to make my final payment on my car. My car is a $500 a month car payment, and this is my final payment that I'm making this month. So that's $500 less. Like, I would say my home expenses are somewhere around, after I pay off the car, my house expenses are probably about $1,500 a month. And then food varies wildly. Sometimes I'll just eat beans and rice. And sometimes I order DoorDash every day and Uber Eats and all that stuff. So we could say 500 to 1,000. Let's just go with the high end of $1,000 a month on food. That's $2,500 a month for all of my personal expenses. So yeah, I should be able to put more than $1,000 a week aside into the business, but we'll just have to wait and see. But that should give me enough cash to build up my reserves and to have enough cash to just pay for um, the APU come spring, because I still have like January, February, and March to run and make even more money, and then get that APU in the spring. And having a fully functional APU will be really, really, really nice. That'll be really nice. But now let's switch over and talk about Yellow and UPS and all these unions. I don't know how many total union strikes are going on right now or about to happen. Um, the ILWU, the same port workers that are on the United States West Coast, it's the same union for the Canadian West Coast. They're on strike right now, as far as I know. They're on strike right now on the Canadian West Coast. So freight is being diverted down into the United States and then having to be hauled up into Canada because of that strike. So I think that's the reason we're seeing a little boost in rates along the West Coast. We're most likely going to see a boost in rates because of Yellow and UPS. Yellow is going to have a very negligible impact on rates, but UPS will have a significant impact on rates. I'm not saying that we're going to see $5 rates, again, but it'll be noticeable. The Yellow impact on freight rates might not be noticeable. From what I understand, they have around 10,000 trucks. I've heard as high as 22,000 trucks. I haven't bothered to research it myself. They have an umbrella of companies that operate under the Yellow brand, so I'm not sure exactly how many trucks they have. But the Yellow situation is this. The CEO of Yellow has come out and said that they don't have enough money to stay in operation for more than a few weeks. They're about to go bankrupt. And they've been asking the union for concessions. They want to shut down a bunch of terminals and lay off a bunch of drivers to cut expenses. And the union has said no. And Yellow's creditors have come in and said, hey, we're going to work with you as much as we can to avoid bankruptcy. So Yellow's creditors are trying really hard to work with them to avoid bankruptcy. But Yellow has gotten to a point where okay, so let's rephrase this. Let's start out and make something very clear. Yellow is a publicly traded company, and for people who don't deal with stocks and publicly traded companies, and you don't understand all of the SEC regulations and the Federal Trade Commission and all that stuff, it is against the law for a publicly traded company to make false financial statements because it misleads investors. So for Yellow to come out and make these really dire statements, number one, it's against the law for them to lie about it. And number two, publicly traded companies try to avoid making dire statements about their financial situation because they can lose all of their value in a very short amount of time on a massive stock sell-off. Their stock could lose a lot of value if they publish negative information. Companies try, they're required by law to be honest about their financials, but they try as much as they can within the legal wiggle room to not divulge negative financial information. So for Yellow to come out and blatantly say that they're broke and they're about to go out of business, for a publicly traded company to do that, that is huge. And I believe what they're saying. This is not a negotiation tactic. There are huge ramifications of them lying about this. So, I wouldn't, there's some people out there that are probably thinking that, Yellow's not that bad off. They're just This is just them trying to negotiate a better contract with Union. No, that you can't do that as a publicly traded company. They are in dire financial situation right now. And Yellow has been on the verge of bankruptcy for almost 20 years. Yellow is a poorly run company. And this is what happens every time the freight market gets really bad, is that poorly run companies get to their breaking point and go out of business or get on the verge of going out of business. Yellow has been bailed out several times. They've been bailed out by the union through concessions. They've been bailed out by the federal government. I think they owe the federal government like $700 million. Last I heard, they are $1.5 billion in debt that they're about to file bankruptcy on. So Yellow is doing everything they can to try to stay in business. This is what companies do. This is like, you usually don't know a business is about to go out of business until they do go out of business, because once they let people know they're going to go out of business, they lose business. And that's what's happened to Yellow. Yellow has lost a tremendous amount of business after disclosing how desperate, how dire their situation is. So at this point, it's almost impossible for the company to stay in business because of all the business that they've lost by announcing that they're about to go out of business. To give you an idea of how bad it is, FreightWaves interviewed some people at a terminal, a Yellow terminal, and they said that particular terminal normally does 1,000. I forgot how was it 1,000 loads per day? I can't remember. I think it was 1,000 loads per day that this one particular terminal does. And they said that they were only doing 100 loads per day right now. A 90% reduction in their number of loads. That's huge. I don't know if it's like that across all of Yellow, but what Yellow has done, because it's gotten so dire, is they are trying to maintain cash reserves to fight a legal battle. They know they're going bankrupt, and they are withholding money. They've basically stopped paying their creditors so that they can have money to go through the legal battle of the bankruptcy. And part of their creditors is the union. They had a $50 million payment that they were supposed to pay for the union benefits. This is for medical benefits, pension. I don't know what all else is covered in this, but Yellow decided not to pay it so that they can have that money to fight the bankruptcy. Yellow has, from what I've heard, $100 million of cash on hand, and they are not willing to give any of that money to anybody. They're going to keep it to fight the bankruptcy. So the Teamsters Union for Yellow, because of the non-payment, as of I think midnight tonight, Sunday night, or 12:01 a.m. Monday morning, pension benefits and medical benefits end for Yellow because of that non-payment. They were actually supposed to make the payment quite a while ago, and they haven't made the payment. And this is the deadline for the payment, or the benefits being cut off. So at 12:01 a.m. Monday morning, Yellow is in breach of contract with the union, and the union is going to go on strike. Yellow has gone to court and tried to get an injunction filed. They don't have any legal standing for the injunction. They're just begging the courts to stop the union from striking because it's going to force a bankruptcy. There's no legal, their case for an injunction has no legal standing whatsoever. They're just asking for a fucking favor from the government. And it'd be really fucked up if the, court system did, put through an injunction without any legal basis whatsoever, just to keep them from going bankrupt. But the Yellow union members are fucking livid. There are videos floating around the internet of Yellow employees just raging on managers. And I mean, they're Yellow employees. Like, one of the videos is a guy that's worked at the company for, I think, 31 years. And now he's going to lose his job, his medical benefits, and his pension all in the same day. Could you imagine being in that situation? work for a company for 31 years, and then in one day you lose your job, your pension, and your medical benefits, just all gone. Your entire life savings is just wiped out from underneath you. You have to start all over at like 60 years old. Like that's the kind of shit people commit suicide over. Like I would be livid, and this guy was livid. I can understand. Like I would be probably more mad than he is. It's just it's very frustrating. But the situation is that as of right now, it looks like Yellow is going to shut their doors on Monday because of a strike. And they're probably never going to open their doors again because they've lost so much business already. And the strike is going to cost them, so much more money. It's going to they're already way too far in debt. They can't pay their bills. And a strike is just going to compound that problem to a point where it's just they can't open the doors again. They just can't afford to reopen the doors. So for the union to do this, it's just a self-fulfilling prophecy is what it is. I mean, Yellow is probably going to go bankrupt no matter what, but the union is forcing that bankruptcy to happen earlier. That's what's happening right now is Yellow is doing everything they can to stay in business for as long as they can. They're most likely going out of business no matter what, but the union going on strike on Monday is going to force the bankruptcy to happen soon. They're probably going to file bankruptcy within, the next few weeks to a month. So Yellow's going out of business most likely. And then UPS. UPS negotiators, the Teamsters union, stated that if they don't have a good faith contract in place with enough time for it to go into, to be ratified and signed and everything by the deadline of August 1st, that they were going on strike. They told UPS they don't want to deal with this bullshit of wait until the last minute. You're not going to drag this out. If we don't have something in place that we can realistically get signed in by the August 1st deadline of the contract expiring, then we're going on strike on August 1st, even if we have a pre-negotiated contract. I don't think that's actually going to happen. The union has a meeting. Well, the last meeting that the union had with UPS was, I think, on July 5th. And UPS got so pissed off, they just walked out of the meeting. Because they were saying that they didn't have any money. There were going to be no pay increases. They refused to give any pay increases from what the union was saying, is that they refused to give any pay increases. And they thought the union was being unreasonable, and they just walked out of the meeting. They have a new meeting scheduled this upcoming week, and the union is holding firm on their compensation requirements. So it might be another meeting where they just get frustrated with each other and just walk out. Or they might come to some kind of agreement. Who knows? If they come to an agreement, I don't think UPS is going to strike. Even though the union has said that they will. Because we're too late right now. There's no way that an agreement at this point could, be completed by the August 1st deadline. It takes a minimum of like 3 weeks just for the union to vote on the contract. So I do think if they come to an agreement in this next meeting, it'll avoid a strike. Do I think that they're going to come to an agreement in this next meeting? I have no idea. It would take me forever to explain, my opinion and, the both sides of, I understand the union side and I understand UPS's side. Basically, the union is trying to get compensation and wages based off of the record high rates that we had and the boom industry that we had throughout 21 and 22. Well, 20 and 21. Let's not throw 22 in there. 22 was kind of a shit year most of the year. So 20 and 21 were amazing years. And UPS had like record earnings those years. and the workers didn't see a penny of that extra money. So now they're trying to get wage increases based on those two amazing years of 20 and 21. But now we're in a really down year. And UPS is not wanting to give wages based off that. They're wanting to give wages based off of like realistic going forward. And they're arguing that you guys are already some of the highest paid workers in the industry. And we don't really want to give you much of any wage increases. You're already overpaid. And I don't know how much compensation they're willing to give out, but the union is wanting huge wage increases. And UPS is probably wanting to give small cost of living increases. That'd be my guess. So who knows what's going to end up happening with it. But if UPS goes on strike and Yellow shuts their doors on Monday, we are going to see a lot of confusion in the freight market. The logistics supply chain in the United States, the freight market, is not like a stream where when there's a little blockage, it just diverts around and keeps flowing. No, it's really complex. There's a lot of contract negotiations. There's a lot of just, it's this, instead of looking at it like a stream that can easily divert, look at it like some kind of homemade house that's been patched together with, like a homeless person house that's been patched together with, trash. That's what the logistics supply chain looks like, is like this trash house. And you can't just go in and put a whole bunch more weight on that house or move weight over here to there. It's not structurally sound in the first place. So it's going to be very confusing. There's going to be probably congestions within the network in certain places. There could be a spike in rates in certain areas where there is congestion. There's just a lot of things. I don't know exactly what's going to happen with the supply chain. The thing is that these LTLs typically are package haulers. They don't, these aren't, like UPS does have a freight division where they haul palletized stuff. But a lot of what UPS is known for is just boxes. They haul packages. And over the road companies like Landstar and Swift and Knight and USA Truck and all these other companies out there haul loads for UPS. So imagine that, like, you are a USA Truck driver and there's like 30 of you that are running the UPS contract. That's all you do is run UPS loads. And then all of a sudden that just ends. Well, now you have to get into the normal load network of USA Truck to run regular loads. So you're going to cut into other drivers' loads. So you're not going to be getting as many miles as you're used to. Other drivers in the company are not going to get as many miles as they're used to. So there's going to be a lot of confusion about what people are going to be doing, and there's going to be a lot fewer miles for people. And then they're going to be trying to divert all of that freight, packages, parcels, however you want to look at it, over through other businesses. And the first places they're going to try to go to are the FedEx and the Yellows. Well, Yellow's not an option anymore. Saia, Old Dominion, other LTLs, XPO. But they don't have the capacity to take on very much. All of these LTL companies run really close to capacity at all times. So, like, they're going to get filled up really quick trying to take on all of UPS's business. And then they're just going to try to move the packages however they can. There's going to be brokers that are just going to be trying to patchwork stuff together. So it's going to be a nightmare. I'm glad that I'm not working in the back end of logistics like, brokers and stuff are, trying to figure out how to move things from point A to point B, because it's going to be a nightmare. So I don't know exactly how it's going to play out, but I suspect that there is going to be a boost in rates, but it's probably not going to be a flat boost across the entire country, because what's probably going to happen is we're going to have congestion in certain areas like Los Angeles. There's probably going to be a rate increase in places like Los Angeles, uh, Houston, Dallas, hubs, big hubs. But further in the country, like Kansas City, places like that are not like ports, we're probably going to see a decrease in volume because things are going to have issue making it inward into the country. Things are going to be getting congested at the ports. So we'll probably see rate increases at the port areas and rate decreases inward into the country because things just aren't able to make it inward. I don't know exactly how UPS's network works, so I'm not sure exactly where the places are going to where we're going to see rate increases and decreases. But it's not, I don't think it's going to be a uniform rate increase across the country because we're going to have congestion. And the places where the freight is getting congested, we're going to see rate increases. And the places where they're having issues getting the freight to, we're going to see decreases because there's going to be hardly anything in those areas. Let me pause this a minute. So I just looked something up while I paused it. I don't have current numbers, but there are 112,000 trucks in the UPS fleet, according to FMCSA. And UPS is one of the most efficient trucking companies in the world. They're fixated on efficiency. So you cannot replace 112,000 UPS trucks on a 1-to-1 ratio. It's probably closer to a 2-to-1 or a 3-to-1 ratio. It would take 200,000 to 300,000 trucks to move all of the freight that UPS is moving with 112,000 trucks. According to OOIDA, and this is based on information from what year is this from? (2018). So this is information from 2018, which was a boom year in trucking. There were 2.9 million registered tractor trailers, Class 8 tractor trailers. Well, that's not necessarily Class 8. It just 2.9 million commercial vehicle combinations registered. And if we've been losing a lot of trucks because of how bad the economy is, how bad the freight market is. And the freight volume has dropped a lot. I don't know where we're at in comparison to equilibrium, though. I don't have all the data to look at to see like how many trucks we need to lose to hit equilibrium, to stabilize the rates, to shift the balance. But right now, this is heavily favored in the shippers and the brokers. They can move loads at almost any rate they choose because of how desperate the trucks are out there and how few loads there are in comparison to the number of trucks. But if we lose Yellow, somewhere between 10 and 20,000 trucks, I'm not sure exactly, and then we lose UPS, it's like 112,000 trucks, which is let's put those two together of like 130, 140,000 trucks. Well, let's say 130,000 trucks. We're losing 130,000 trucks by August 1st. You can't replace them on a 1-to-1 ratio. It's closer to 200 to 300,000 trucks that we're losing. And then we have freight diverting from the Canadian West Coast down to the US West Coast because of port worker strikes in Canada. I think we could see a pretty big rate increase along the US West Coast. The US West Coast could be the place to be coming up. I don't know if it's going to be Seattle, Portland, or if it's going to be the LA area or Central California or all of it. But that's just purely a guess. I think that's one of the places we're going to see rate increases is the U.S. West Coast. Places where we're probably not going to see, like where we're going to see rate declines, are going to be places in the central part of the hubs that are in the central part of the country that are basically distribution hubs. Like Kansas City receives freight from the ports and then it's distributed out from Kansas City. Chicago is a port city. Green Bay, Milwaukee, those are all port cities. So it's the hubs in the United States, like in the central US, like places that are pretty much already known for having low freight rates. Like Salt Lake City is a hub. Denver is a hub. Kansas City is a hub. You know, they're like Omaha, Nebraska is a hub. Kansas City is mainly a rail hub. There's a lot of rail freight that comes in there and gets distributed outward. And that's a good place to get freight is Omaha and Kansas City. Denver, not so much. Salt Lake, not so much. But we could see rates go down in those inward hubs. I don't know. It's really complex and it's hard to tell what exactly is going to happen. But those are my guesses. If you're sitting at home like me, then now is a good time to start thinking about getting back out over the road and taking advantage of these rate increases. If we don't know it's going to happen, but if Yellow goes out of business and UPS goes on strike. I don't think Yellow going out of business is going to have a huge impact on rates. There might be a negligible impact in some areas. From what I understand, Yellow is really big in the Los Angeles market. So if Yellow shuts down in LA, we could see a spike in rates in LA. But it may not be very big. But UPS going on strike would be massive. That's definitely going to affect rates, and it's going to cause a lot of congestion in the supply chain. So if all that takes place, then I would be in a position to get out there and take advantage of it. It's really looking like Yellow is going to shut their doors Monday, and the union's going to go on strike on Monday, and Yellow is most likely never going to open their doors again. They're going to file bankruptcy. And UPS is most likely going to go on strike on August 1st. So we'll just have to wait and see. The UPS strike is the main thing. Yellow is almost guaranteed to go bankrupt. But whether that happens this week or a year from now, we don't know. If the union goes on strike on Monday, then most likely Yellow's never going to open their doors again. They're going to shut down on Monday and never open their doors again. But the UPS strike, we have no idea what's going to happen with that UPS strike. They could come to an agreement this week, and the union could say, hey, we're happy with this. We're not going to go on strike. Even though they said that they will go on strike if UPS waits this long to sign a contract or to agree to a contract. They're not actually signing it. They're just agreeing to a contract at this point. And the union said if UPS waits too long, then they're going on strike until the contract gets signed. So I don't think the union's going to follow through with that. If they agree to a contract this upcoming negotiation this week, then I think that a strike will be avoided. And I try not to get political on this channel because I have really strong political beliefs. I cannot fucking stand the Democrats, but the Democrats portray themselves as, pro-union, but they've shown that they're union busters is what they are. They got involved in the rail contracts and avoided a strike with the rail, which gave power to the company in the negotiation. The threat of a strike gives power to the workers. And when the government comes in and averts a strike, or says that they're going to use their power in the government to stop a strike from happening, it takes all of the leverage and all of the power away from the workers in the negotiations. So the federal government, the Biden administration, might come in and get involved in these union negotiations like they did with the rail workers, because this is going to have a big impact on the economy, just like the rail worker strike would have. So we might see the government come in and get involved and stop the strike from happening. I don't know. There's a lot of things up in the air. People need to stop fucking voting Democrat is what needs to happen. I hate to get political, but man, dumbasses that vote Democrat just piss me off. Anyway, hope you're having a great weekend. And, if you are one of the good drivers out there that know what in the hell you're doing and you run a good business and you're a good representative of this industry, then I hope you continue to stay in business. If you don't know what in the hell you're doing, you're running a terrible business, and you're one of these flip-flop wearing, trashy looking drivers out here that are just poor representatives of this industry, I hope you go out of business. Like, McDonald's is begging people to work for like $18 an hour. You'll probably enjoy it better. So, best of luck to everyone out there. Have a good one. Bye.